is a kiln. Nice selection. A type of oven is the correct and valid answer. Polymers are. Bravo, plastics is the answer. Atoms make up. Well reasoned. Elements is the correct choice. Nylon is not. Excellent. Homopolymer is a brilliant choice. CHON. Right choice. Proteins is the best answer. Natural polymer. Excellent choice. Proteins is the right answer. Polymers can be. Correct response. Flexible or stiff is the most accurate answer. PTFE stands for. Smart move. Poly is an accurate answer. Polyethylene is a. Exactly. Synthetic makes sense and it is right choice. Name this molecule. You're right. Propene is the correct answer. Stored in the liver. Solid response. Glycogen is a valid choice. A common polymer is. Nice work. You chose plastic bags, and it is correct. Petrol is used for. Great job. Fuel in cars is the accurate answer, which is not polymer. Clear logic. Your choice nucleotide is sound and 100% true. How are alkenes made? Nicely done. Catalytic cracking is a solid answer. What is a homopolymer? Perfect. A is the correct choice. Nylon 66 is one type. Great thinking. Polyamide silk is the right choice. Hardest known material. Smart pick. Diamond is the correct choice. Where is starch found? Strong choice. In plants is the right answer. Types of nucleic acids. Correct. 2 is the right answer. Identify this molecule. On track. Nylon is the correct answer. Gases LPG are used for? Good job. Your answer domestic heating and cooking works well here. Polymers have many dash. Valid point. Uses is true. Molality is measured in. Well picked. Moles per kg is the correct answer. A synthetic material is. You got it. Your choice made from natural resources is right. Dacron is an example of. Sharp thinking. Polystyrene is the right choice. A macromolecule is dash. Well done. A large molecule is the right choice. The darkest oil fraction. Good thinking. Bitumen is the right answer. What does FAM stand for? You chose fused deposition modeling, and it is correct. What is a macromolecule? Right again. A really large molecule is a valid answer. Viscoelastic strain means. You're right. Both is the correct answer. A single unit or molecule? Exactly. Monomer makes sense and it is right choice. Polystyrene is made up of. Valid point. Styrene is true. Protons have a charge of. Good job. Your answer +1 works well here. The word polymer means. Solid response. Many parts is a valid choice. Enzymes are an example of. Correct. Protein is the right answer. What is naphtha used for? Smart move. Chemical production is an accurate answer. Speed code 1 is. Right choice. PET is the best answer. What holds atoms together? Correct response. Chemical bonds is the most accurate answer. Paper contains the polymer. Nice selection. Cellulose is the correct and valid answer. Fuel for ships and lorries. Bravo. Fuel oil is the answer. A use for an ester is dash. Smart pick. Odors is the correct choice. Nylon 6 is an example of. Good thinking. Copolymer is the right answer, which is a network polymer. Perfect. Phenyl formaldehyde is the correct choice. Which monomer makes up dinar? On track. Nucleotides is the correct answer. Identify the edible polymer. Right again. Potato is a valid answer. Plastics are dash polymers. Great thinking. Synthetic is the right choice. What one is a thermoplastic? Clear logic. Your choice, nylon, is sound and 100% true. Monomer of natural rubber is. Excellent. Isoprene is a brilliant choice. Identify a thermoset plastic. Well reasoned. Polyester resin is the correct choice. The word saccharide means. You got it? Your choice sugar is right. Straws and syrup bottles are. Well picked. Landipi is the correct answer. What are lipids composed of? Nice work. You chose fatty acids and it is correct. What is starch used to make? You chose food products and it is correct. COVID-19 is part of the risk. Great job. Biological is the accurate answer. Bulletproof vests are made of. Well done. Kevlar is the right choice. What type of molecule is this? Sharp thinking. A polymer is the right choice. Identify the synthetic polymer. Strong choice. Polythene is the right answer. What are polymers made up of? Excellent choice. Monomers is the right answer. ABS is which sort of polymer? Nicely done. Thermoplastic is a solid answer. What are the monomers of DINA? Clear logic. Your choice, nucleotides, is sound and 100% true. The formula for oxygen gases. Sharp thinking. O2 is the right choice. For surfacing roads and roofs. Solid response. Bitumen is a valid choice. Colligative properties include. Excellent. All of the above is a brilliant choice. Dash is a synonym for protein. Right choice. Polypeptide is the best answer. Polymers are also known as dash. Well picked. Plastics is the correct answer. Which plastic is used the most? Correct response. Polyethylene terephthalate is the most accurate answer.
Which is not a natural polymer.
You got it. Your choice, Kevlar, is right. Which polymers occur naturally? Smart move. Starch and cellulose is an accurate answer. How many amino acids are there? You chose 20, and it is correct. Which is the monomer of nylon 6? You're right. Caprolactam is the correct answer. How many aluminum are in auto-the? Perfect. 2 is the correct choice. Which is not a polymer material? Great job. Glass is the accurate answer. Which monomer makes up proteins? Strong choice. Amino acids is the right answer. What is the formula for density? Nice work. You chose mass divided by volume, and it is correct. Something attached to ethylene. On track. Vinyl is the correct answer. What monomers are Dana made from? Correct. Nucleotides is the right answer. Which base is only found in Da? Well done. Thymine is the right choice. Which monomer makes up glycogen? Good job. Your answer, monosaccharides, works well here. Which monomer makes up starches? Bravo. Glucose is the answer. Which polymer is a nucleic acid? Valid point. 1A is true. Synthetic polymers are made from? Good thinking. Oil is the right answer. What is the monomer for proteins? Right again. Amino acids is a valid answer. What type of polymer is terylene? Smart pick. Polyester is the correct choice. What is another word for monomer? Excellent choice. Building blocks is the right answer. Which one is used to make gloves? Well reasoned. Neoprene is the correct choice. If a liquid resists flow, it has? Exactly. Viscosity makes sense, and it is right choice. Alkenes have the general formula. Nicely done. Silicon is a solid answer. Polymers can be stiffened through? Great thinking. Cross-linking is the right choice. Name some examples of formulations. Nice selection. Medicines is the correct and valid answer. Which is a carbohydrate's monomer? Well reasoned. Monosaccharide is the correct choice. Repeating chains of smaller units? Exactly. Polymer makes sense, and it is right choice. PVC is a polymer of which monomer? Excellent. Chloroethene is a brilliant choice. What monomers is starch made from? You chose sugars, and it is correct. Physical properties will depend on. Nicely done. Both of the above is a solid answer. Existing in great supply, plentiful. Clear logic. Your choice abundant is sound and 100% true. What are the 3 axes in 3D printing? Bravo. X. Wise is the answer. Polyvinyl chloride has the formula. Great job. N is the accurate answer. Capron silk belongs to the category. Good job. Your answer, polyamide silk, works well here. What is not a type of carbohydrate? Excellent choice. Fat is the right answer. What monomer is suitable for nylon? Well done. Adipic acid is the right choice.
The molecular formula for heptane is...
Nice work. You chose SAHA16 and it is correct. Recycling synthetic polymers is dash. Right again. Complicated and expensive is a valid answer. Starch is composed of what monomers? Solid response. Glucose is a valid choice. Waxes, oils, and fats are examples of. Strong choice. Lipids is the right answer. Polytetrafluoroethene is also called. Well picked. Teflon is the correct answer. Which part of an atom has no charge? Valid point. Neutrons is true. These chairs are likely made out of. Nice selection. Acrylic is the correct and valid answer. The monomer used to produce Orlin is. Correct response. SHAGE2 equal TOC-CN is the most accurate answer. Dash bond together to form molecules. Great thinking. Atoms is the right choice. How many carbon atoms are in propane? On track. 3 is the correct answer. Which of these objects is a ceramic? Smart move. Brick is an accurate answer. Generally speaking, steel is made of. You're right. Iron carbon is the correct answer. Which polymer is tough and slippery? Sharp thinking. Poly is the right choice. Engineering polymers are designed to. Perfect. Improve strength is the correct choice.
Carbohydrates are known as dash of foods.
You got it? Your choice, quick energy, is right. What is the monomer of poly? Correct. Propene is the right answer. Which elements create covalent bonds? Right choice. Nonmetals is the best answer. Retail bags and yogurt containers are. Good thinking. HAPE is the right answer. Substance added to coagulate latex is. Smart pick. Acid is the correct choice. What happened in the 1930s and 1940s? Solid response. All of the above is a valid choice. What atoms make up all carbohydrates? Perfect. Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen is the correct choice. Car engines produce which acidic gas? Great thinking. Nitrogen oxide is the right choice. Which natural polymer makes up paper? Excellent choice. Starch is the right answer. Which monomer makes up nucleic acids? You chose nucleotides, and it is correct. What is the monomer for nucleic acid? Good thinking. Nucleotides is the right answer. What does not produce carbon dioxide? You got it. Your choice, photosynthesis, is right. Which is a renewable energy resource? Well reasoned. Wind is the correct choice. Which biomolecule helps form muscles? Excellent. Protein is a brilliant choice. Type of polymers made in a laboratory.
Good job. Your answer synthetic works well here.
Many monomers bonded together form a. On track. Polymer is the correct answer. Which substance is a natural polymer? Well picked. Polyisoprene is the correct answer.
Which polymer makes up carbohydrates?
Exactly. Polysaccharides make sense, and it is right choice. Which do all carbohydrates do for us? Great job. Provide energy is the accurate answer. The monomer of a lipid is called dash. Valid point. A fatty acid is true. Copolymer is a polymer that form from. Right again. Two different monomer is a valid answer. Which one of these is not a composite? Well done. Neoprene is the right choice. Which is not a polymer found in nature? Sharp thinking. Teflon is the right choice. Paints and lacquers are prepared using. Correct. Glyptal is the right answer. Which of these bonds is the strongest? Strong choice. Covalent is the right answer. An example of synthetic rubber is dash. Smart pick. Good S is the correct choice. What monomer is suitable for polyester? Correct response. Binary alcohol is the most accurate answer. Synthesize nylon 6,6 by what reaction? Nice selection. Condensation is the correct and valid answer. The prefix poly in polymer means dash. Nicely done. Many is a solid answer. Which polymer has a branch structure? Bravo! Luppy is the answer. Which atom is main element of backbone? Right choice. Carbon is the best answer. Which of these is a name for a polymer? Clear logic. Your choice polythene is sound and 100% true. Nylon 6,6 silk belongs to the category. Smart move. Synthetic silk is an accurate answer. The polymer pictured is an example of a. You're right. Nucleic acid is the correct answer. Oil fraction with the shortest molecules. Nice work. You chose refinery gases, and it is correct. 96% of plastic containers in the US are. Clear logic. Your choice pet is sound and 100% true. What feature makes a molecule an alkene? Nice work. You chose carbon-carbon double bond, and it is correct. One disadvantage of injection molding is. Bravo, tooling cost is the answer. What is the general formula of an alkane? Excellent choice. Sinsenhausen +2 is the right answer. What material is used for bleach bottles? Exactly. HEPA makes sense, and it is right choice. Recycled bottles of plastic are made from. Nice selection. Polyethylene terephthalate is the correct and valid answer. Who created the first synthetic polymer? Solid response. John Wesley Hyatt is a valid choice. Identify another name for this link dash. Smart move. Amide bond is an accurate answer. What applications are there for acrylic? Perfect. Spice is the correct choice. How many hydrogen atoms are in 3Po4? You got it. Your choice 12 is right. What temperature does cracking occur at? Sharp thinking. 500 Oki is the right choice. Identify the monomer given in the image.
Right again. Isoprene is a valid answer.
What is the smallest unit of an element? Right choice. Atom is the best answer. Identify the type of polymer. Strong choice. Homopolymer is the right answer. It is difficult to manufacture -frap. Excellent. Boron is a brilliant choice. Which biomolecule contain your genetics? Well picked. Nucleic acid is the correct answer. C10.2. What is the name of this molecule? Nicely done. Propanol is a solid answer, which is not an example of a formulations. Well done. Hydrogen gas is the right choice. What is the most common plastic on Earth? On track. Polyethylene is the correct answer. What temperature is crude oil heated to? Correct. 350 degrees C is the right answer. A single unit of sugar is referred to as? Great job. Monosaccharide is the accurate answer. What are the monomers of proteins called? You're right. Amino acids is the correct answer. Process of making synthetic fiber is DASH. Good job. Your answer photosynthesis works well here. What is a use of poly? Well reasoned. Non-stick pans is the correct choice. The keyword for polycondensation is dash. Correct response. Deposition is the most accurate answer. Which of these molecules is the smallest?
Smart pick. A monomer is the correct choice.
What is the chemical formula of ethylene? Valid point. C24 is true. C10.1 name the alkene with 4 carbon atoms. Great thinking. Butene is the right choice. Phenyl formaldehyde polymer is also called. Good thinking. Both 1 and 3 is the right answer. Which monomer is used to make polyethylene? You chose ethene, and it is correct. Amylose is a polymer made of dash monomers. Right again. Glucose is a valid answer. Functional group for a carboxylic acid is? Clear logic. Your choice Q is sound and 100% true. The properties of polymer is determined by? Correct. All of above is the right answer. The structural formula of polybutadiene is? Bravo, N is the answer. What is the name of nucleic acid polymers? Sharp thinking. Nucleic acids is the right choice. What is the main component monomer of DNI? Right choice. Nucleotides is the best answer. Which polymer is classified as a thermoset? Nicely done. Polyphenol formaldehyde is a solid answer. What conditions are needed for LIPE to form? Good job. Your answer high temperature. High pressure works well here. Bulk polymerization is used to prepare dash. Valid point, PVC is true. Dash is an advantage of synthetic polymers. Exactly. Lightweight makes sense, and it is right choice. What do plants need to make their own food?
Excellent choice. Sun, water, and soil is the right answer.
Urea formaldehyde is which sort of polymer?
Smart pick. Thermosetting is the correct choice.
Which of the following is not carbohydrate? You're right. Amino acid is the correct answer. What is the monomer that makes up proteins? Correct response? Amino acids is the most accurate answer. Which biomolecule is also known as enzymes? Excellent. Protein is a brilliant choice. Type of polymer that can be reshaped easily. Well picked. Thermoplastic is the correct answer. Which of these is not a quality of ceramic? Well reasoned. Elastic is the correct choice. What 3 letters do enzymes typically end in?
You chose Ace, and it is correct.
What is a particle made of 2 or more atoms? You got it. Your choice molecule is right. Cellulose is layers of dash cellulose fibers. On track. Cross-linked is the correct answer. Which part of an atom is positively charged? Smart move. Protons is an accurate answer. What is a positive test for a carbonate ion? Nice selection. Lime water turns cloudy is the correct and valid answer. What kind of chemical bonds create polymers?
Strong choice. Covalent bond is the right answer.
This is the best type of plastic to recycle. Well done. Thermoplastics is the right choice. A chain of repeating units. Perfect. Polymer is the correct choice. A non-metal bonding to another non-metal is... Great thinking. A covalent bond is the right choice. What is the function of cellulose in plants? Good thinking. Structural support is the right answer. Which type of polymer is flexible and tough? Great job. Branched is the accurate answer. Which of the following is a branched polymer? Nice work. You chose low-density polymer and it is correct. Polymers split apart to form dash by dash. Solid response. Monomers, hydrolysis is a valid choice. When 3D printing, this is the first step, dash. You chose draw your design, and it is correct. Which of these are thermoplastic properties?
Correct response. All of the above is the most accurate answer.
What adhesive would you not use for acrylic? Nicely done. PY is a solid answer. How many bonds can an atom of hydrogen make? Excellent. 1 is a brilliant choice. Which of the following are natural polymers? Right choice. Agar and cotton is the best answer. What is the main use of phenol formaldehyde?
Great job. Circuit boards is the accurate answer.
What type of bonds are found in biomolecules? Perfect.
Covalent bonds is the correct choice.
Medical tubing and window cleaner bottles are
Correct. PVC is the right answer.
Which of the macromolecules contain nitrogen?
You got it. Your choice nucleic acids and proteins is right.
Small molecules that make up larger molecules. Excellent choice. Monomer is the right answer.
the bond between amino acids is called a dash.
Great thinking. Peptide bond is the right choice. From the picture, what type of plastic is it?
Right again. Heap is a valid answer.
Sugars all end with what three-letter ending?
Smart pick. Or is the correct choice.
Three-dimensional, repeated patterns make up dash.
Strong choice. Crystals is the right answer.
If something is synthetic, it means it is dash.
Well done. Man-made is the right choice.
Which biomolecule contains pastas and breads?
Well picked. Carbohydrate is the correct answer.
Which is classified as an elastomer material?
Good job. Your answer silicone works well here.
What is the primary function of nucleic acids?
Solid response. Carrying the genetic code is a valid choice.
Which polymer is used for coating cooking pots?
Exactly. Polytetrafluoroethylene makes sense and it is right choice.
Pick the synthetic fiber out of the following.
Valid point. Nylon is true.
Polymers chains can be linked together by dash.
Bravo. Cross-links is the answer.
C10.4. What is the catalyst of ester formation?
Smart move. Sulfuric acid is an accurate answer.
Which is an example of a thermosetting polymer?
Clear? Logic.
Your choice superglue is sound and 100% true.
This plastic can withstand extreme temperatures.
Well reasoned. Happy is the correct choice.
The smallest unit of a polymer is called a dash.
You're right. Monomer is the correct answer.
The process of polymer becomes monomers is dash. Nice selection. Depolymerization is the correct and valid answer.
How many types of polymer structures are there?
Nice work. You chose 3 and it is correct.
A polymer that is usually made by living things.
Sharp thinking. Natural polymer is the right choice.
A more common term for kafap, krupp, frap is dash.
On track. Carbon fiber is the correct answer.
Which type of polymer is rigid and very strong?
Good thinking. Cross-linked is the right answer.
Which is not used as a prevention of corrosion?
Bravo. Thermosetting is the answer.
Sugar belongs to which class of macromolecules?
Good job. Your answer carbohydrates works well here.
Conductance of polyacetylene can be modified by.
Great job. Doping is the accurate answer.
What is acrylonitrile butadiene used for?
Clear logic. Your choice Lego is sound and 100% true.
Dash materials are used in compression molding. Nicely done. Thermosetting is a solid answer. Which of these properties is typical of metals? Correct. Good conductor of electricity is the right answer. Cellulose, starch, and glycogen are examples of. Sharp thinking. Polysaccharides is the right choice. Monomers use this type of bond to form polymers. You chose covalent, and it is correct. What is this backlight likely to be made from?
Well done. Pima is the right choice.
What is one practical application of celluloid? Exactly. Film tapes makes sense, and it is right choice. Which among the following is not a stereoisomer?
Great thinking. Asymptomatic is the right choice.
Which society began using natural rubbers first?
Smart pick. The Olmecs is the correct choice. Which substances can be produced from crude oil? Right again. Kerosene and polymers is a valid answer. The monomer fatty acids make up the polymer dash.
Nice selection. Lipids is the correct and valid answer. Small molecules that are joined to form polymers. Good thinking. Monomer is the right answer. The synthesis of high molecular weight polymers. Excellent. Polymerization is a brilliant choice. Property which makes ionic solids easy to cleave. Smart move. Brittleness is an accurate answer.
Dash is a type of protein polymer found in skin. Strong choice. Collagen is the right answer.
What numbers on packaging are the safest for us? Solid response. 1245 is a valid choice. Proteins are polymers made from monomers called. You're right. Amino acids is the correct answer. What is the monomer that makes up nucleic acids? Nice work. You chose nucleotides and it is correct. Which elements made up 96% of living organisms? Well picked. CHNO is the correct answer. What is the crosslinker in the bouncy ball lab? Well reasoned. Borax is the correct choice. Which of the following is not a synthetic polymer? Correct response. Cotton is the most accurate answer. Which biomolecule contains fats, oils, and waxes? Perfect. Lipids is the correct choice. Polyamide is a type of polymer with dash linkage. Valid point. Amide is true. Which of the following is a function of proteins? Excellent choice. Catalyzing chemical reactions is the right answer. Dash is the polymer that makes tree trunks rigid. On track. Lignin is the correct answer. How can you separate a mixture of salt and water?
You got it. Your choice evaporation is right. An example of a polymer that is hard and tough is
right choice. Glass is the best answer. Dash is the ability of a material to be recycled. Well done. Recyclability is the right choice. Which of the following is a use of poly? Nice selection. Ropes is the correct and valid answer.
Synthetic polymer tend to poor conductors of dash. Bravo! Heat and electricity is the answer.
Which homologous series contains a C=Toc double bond? Excellent choice. Alkanins is the right answer.
Dash molding is used to fabricate hollow bottles. Smart pick. Blow is the correct choice. Which of the following is a non-flammable plastic?
Well reasoned. PVC is the correct choice.
Which of these is an example of synthetic polymer?
Right choice. Polyvinyl chloride is the best answer.
The graph is plotted on which type of graph paper?
Sharp thinking. Logarithmic paper is the right choice.
Lipids can be digested into what smaller subunits?
Clear logic. Your choice fatty acids is sound and 100% true.
What is the polymer used in textiles and clothing?
Perfect. Cotton is the correct choice.
What is the state of polymers at room temperature?
Nicely done. Solid is a solid answer.
Different fractions in crude oil are separated by.
On track. Fractional distillation is the correct answer. Substance added to prevent coagulation of latex is correct. Ammonia is the right answer.
What plastic is generally used for vacuum forming?
Good job. Your answer hips works well here.
The process by which polymers and plastics are made.
Nice work. You chose polymerization, and it is correct. Which of the following is the monomer of cellulose? Great thinking. Glucose is the right choice. What gives different polymers different properties? Good thinking. Molecular arrangement is the right answer.
The building blocks or proteins are dash.
You're right. Amino acids is the correct answer.
Select the option that is a stress-strain behavior.
Solid response. All of options listed is a valid choice.
Lipids are polymers. The monomers of the lipids are.
Right again. Fatty acids is a valid answer.
Which of the following is not a renewable resource?
Exactly. Coal makes sense and it is right choice.
Which of the following polymers is not a polyamide?
You got it? Your choice vulcanized rubber is right.
Dash are polymers that contain amino acid monomers.
Great job. Proteins is the accurate answer. If a substance is a copolymer, it means it has dash. Excellent. 2 monomers is a brilliant choice. How many tons of polymers are producing every year? You chose 330, and it is correct. Which are 3 requirements for forming petroleum? E. Correct response. Heat, time, pressure is the most accurate answer.
Which is not a property of a long-chain hydrocarbon?
Valid point. Flammable is true.
What is the tiniest particle in the entire universe?
Smart move. Atoms is an accurate answer. Polymers have a spatial network structure. Strong choice. Bakelite plastic is the right answer.
Macromolecules are made of repeating subunits called.
Well picked. Monomers is the correct answer. how you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format. Clear logic. Your choice contact Narayan Changda is sound and 100% true.